everyone, it's Rad here again. Welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the extracurricular activities that I put down on my application to Stanford and the Ivy League schools that I applied to. And I had a lot of people request this video, and I thought it would actually be really fun because I think that, people always ask, how do you get into Stanford? What's the one thing that makes you stand out? And if you haven't seen my previous video where I kind of explain that, you can stand out not just through your activities, but in a multitude of different ways. But I definitely think that my extracurricular activities, or just how I spent my time in general outside of the classroom, played a huge role in my admission to Stanford and the Ivy League. And so I'll be attending Stanford this fall if you're new to this channel, and I've been making a lot of videos about different college essays that I wrote and advice for the college application process, as well as some other fun videos. So if you're interested in any of that, go ahead and subscribe down below, and I'm just going to go ahead and get into the activities that I did. And I'm just going to go over the activities in general in no particular order. This is just kind of what I did throughout high school, how I spent my time, and I'll also kind of reference specific stuff that I put on my application as well. But I'm just going to start talking because there's a lot. Probably the most significant extracurricular activity to me, or just how I spent my time out of high school, which I think this was something that I talked about all the time, and anyone who ever met me in high school knew that this was just something that I did. I founded an organization called Real Autism Difference, or RAD, which is also my nickname, and basically this organization that I released for my 16th birthday became like my job that I did throughout all of high school. So a little bit backstory on me, if you haven't seen my Reading My Common Application essay. I have a younger brother, Amr, and he has severe autism, right? He was nonverbal for a large part of his life. He still requires 24-hour supervision, and even now, at the age of 16, he requires someone to look after him, to feed him, to clean him, to shower him, and he's pretty, low functioning in terms of the autism spectrum. And so I'm from Southern Nevada, and in Southern Nevada, there just are not a lot of resources for kids with autism. And I remember my mom used to try to put my brother in the after-school safe key programs that we would have, and they would say, no, we don't have the staff to accommodate people like him. And there was just a severe shortage of resources for children like my brother who were pretty low functioning and required that one-on-one help and care and support. And so I was all of middle school, I would hang out in my brother's special education classroom trying to help him, and I was like, this is so crazy that we don't have some type of program here for these kids. And so, and I would just talk to parents all the time, over and over again, same thing, where's the respite care, where's the after-school care, why can't my kid go into an after-school program like any other kid? And so that was truly the main sort of goal of RAD, was to implement respite care programs in Southern Nevada, which we did end up doing, right? So I think with every organization, you have to figure out your specific goals, your specific niche. Is it spreading awareness? Is it family educational workshops? Is it this? Is it this? And of course, we had different kinds of programs, but our main goal was respite care. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I had this desire to do. So something that's important to keep in mind is that when it comes to doing something like implementing respite care, is a 16-year-old girl who wants to do this needs help. I definitely did not do this on my own. And so I communicated that in my essays and in my extracurricular activities to Stanford and the Ivy League as well, that I really did convince every adult I knew to sort of get on board and join. So my pediatrician, I convinced her to join the RAD board. I gave a TEDx talk, and after the talk, my TEDx coordinator wanted to be part of the board. Just people I met through different public speaking engagements, because I started to do a lot of public speaking in my community. I kind of just essentially got a lot of people on board, right? Every time I met someone, I got them to join this board. And now we have a fully functioning RAD board that sort of works cohesively in doing a lot of the stuff that we do, which is great because, like I said, it's, it's hard. One person can't, especially me as a teenager, can't necessarily full on do everything, right, and implement all of that. But when you have a board and you're constantly, and I think this was the other thing too, is constantly reminding people of the mission, right, for that respite care, and sort of doing a lot of the public speaking and a lot of the talking behind what RAD's vision is, then it happened. So that was a significant activity that I did in high school. I'll leave a link down below in the description box if you want to check out the website. But it's something that I'm continuing now, will continue throughout college, throughout medical school, throughout every other aspiration that I pursue. It's just a great initiative, and I'm really happy that this happened and that I've gotten to spend so much time on it. And so that was the main extracurricular activity that I did throughout high school. But I actually filled out all 10 spots on the common application. So we're just gonna go ahead and get through the rest. Like towards the bottom, a lot of them I just did like spent a few weeks doing, right? They were just like camps and things like that, but I still put them on my application. But you definitely do not need to fill out all 10 spots. So the second actually, I don't actually even know the order, but some of the other things I did, I mentioned public speaking was one of my activities. So I gave a TEDx talk, I spoke at an international autism conference, I spoke at our school district special education forums, I spoke at the Rotary Club a couple of times, I traveled to California to do some speaking engagements. So I was very busy with speaking engagements. I did one at the Asian American group cultural event, and that was great. The thing about these speaking engagements that I did was a lot of the audiences didn't just have like 10, 20 people. A big chunk of them had 200, 300, some even had 500, 600 people. So I definitely made sure to communicate to the admissions officers that, you know, the speaking engagements that I did, especially the TEDx talk and the International Autism Conference and the Volunteers in Medicine Gala, which probably had about 600 people, I really wanted to communicate to them that these were speaking engagements of magnitude and of significance, and I really got to reach a lot of people, which is the goal. And I talked about a variety of things, from youth volunteerism to autism awareness to RAD to everything. I really talked about a lot of different topics. All right, so one of the other activities that I put on my application is through my work with RAD, I was awarded the Governor Points of Light Award, which is basically a community service award that the state gives to individuals each year. And so there was only one youth who received that award this year. There were 3 finalists and then 1 youth. And it was actually the first time they'd given it to a youth. So I won that, and it was a great award, a great experience that I was very grateful for. Anyways, a few months later, I get a email or a call or something from the Nevada Volunteers Board, which is the board that puts on and gives out the Governor Points Light Award. And they said that they needed a youth commissioner for their board, and they asked if I wanted to join, and it seemed really interesting. It seemed like a great way to promote youth volunteerism in the state, and so I, kind of interviewed, I talked about my interests, what I could contribute to the board and all of that, and ultimately they recommended me. And so I was actually appointed by the governor of Nevada, Governor Sandoval, to serve as youth commissioner for the Nevada Volunteers Board. And so that was definitely a significant extracurricular activity that I chose, and it was great to be part of the Governor's Commission, part of the AmeriCorps mission. All of that was pretty significant, and it was a great experience. I even traveled to Reno, which is northern Nevada. I took a flight up there one day, and we did like a whole workshop where we talked with the board, and it was just a really rewarding experience being part of that, and even my term is still continuing now. All right, the activity, I only had 2 activities that I did all 4 years of high school: speech and debate, and tennis. And so these I'll actually read the description for, so for speech and debate, the way I titled it, because you get to write, I put varsity speech and debate national competitor, and I said national world schools debate qualifier, national original oratory competitor, national high school debate institute 4 weeks, which is a camp that I did, and then I said that I competed in 30 plus tournaments. All right, and then tennis, which actually was my 6th activity. I was varsity tennis captain, and so I put that as my title. I did this all 4 years of high school, and I talk about specifically what I did as captain: organized team fundraisers and retreats, led team warm-ups and drills, built lasting friendships with teammates, and had a blast. And again, saying something like had a blast, it's of course a little bit informal, but I think, obviously when you get to the lower half of your extracurricular activities and you've already kind of covered the sort of main activities or main things that you spent a lot of the time on, it's okay to use the extracurricular activity section to show some sides of your personality and things that you genuinely enjoyed, and that were just more so for fun. And so tennis, I'm definitely going to continue to play tennis outside of high school, probably not on a team or anything like that, just for fun. And so I put that, and that was super exciting. I was also president of our school's Best Buddies, and I put this activity a little bit later down on, even though it was pretty significant to me. I traveled to Indiana 2 summers to participate in the International Best Buddies Conference, but that didn't even make its way into the description for this. And so really, this was a club. It wasn't the type of club that met every week. We didn't meet frequently at all. So really, I put this activity on here because of a specific project that I did that I was really proud of throughout high school, so I titled this President of GVHS Best Buddies and Elective Developer. And the description that I said was first student to propose idea and work with school admin to create new elective for school credit, Best Buddies, for needed peer interaction in classes. So what I did was, a lot of people, I realized with this whole Best Buddies club, a lot of people who would have wanted to be in the club couldn't stay after school because they relied on public transportation and things like that. So I kind of had the idea, what if we made this an elective, right? So the mission of Best Buddies, the idea of having one-to-one friendships between individuals with disabilities and those without, can continue throughout the entire school day, right? And not just be one club after school that meets once a week or a couple of times a week. And so I pitched this idea to my school administration, and through working with them, Ms. Hawkins, the assistant principal, was actually super supportive and super welcoming of the idea, and I was very grateful for that. She actually said, okay, we'll start making this a class. And so I wrote this course description for it and everything, and it's still there in the GVHS catalog, and I basically created a class that other students at my high school could take, and that was a really cool project that I did. So that activity went 5th down, and it honestly probably would have been a little bit higher, because of the significance of the project. But again, it was a club that I didn't spend a lot of time on. It was really that project that I think was quite significant. And you can see there's kind of a theme going on with my extracurricular activities. I'm running my nonprofit RAD. I'm also doing special education advocacy and projects for that in my school. I'm also doing public speaking where I'm communicating a lot of things about autism and autism awareness and the need for additional services in Southern Nevada. Why is all of this kind of connecting, and why is this all doing? Because it was something that I genuinely wanted to do. And so kind of naturally what happened was a lot of the stuff that I ended up doing in high school did connect together, and it was all something that kind of just flowed out very naturally, because I feel like when you're doing something, suddenly you start to realize when you're doing something like RAD, like running a nonprofit organization, you realize that everything else you kind of do is part of that mission and part of that goal, because all of your energy becomes dedicated to, okay, how am I going to maximize the reach of the work that I'm doing with this nonprofit organization? How am I going to maximize the reach of the families and children affected by autism and those are all important. And so naturally everything kind of did connect. But again, you can also see I have public speaking, I have speech and debate, and I was president of the Model UN Club at our school, and so I led a team that achieved its goal, Superior Small Delegation at Rebel MUN, which is a local MUN conference, and I just talked about that. That was a cool club that we did, and again, it wasn't something that I spent a lot of time on, but it was definitely a great way to connect with high school students, and I really enjoyed it. I was a psychology research lab assistant at UNLV for one summer for a few weeks. Again, it was not something that I spent a lot of time on, but it was something I did, so I figured it would be okay if I put it down as my 8th activity. And I think admissions officers kind of know, if your 8th, 9th, and 10th activities are things that you're spending, you're saying oh, I'm spending 15 hours a week on all of these, and you have 10 activities that say that, that is going to be a red flag, because that's just not possible. I feel like there are only a couple activities maybe that you can really pour your heart, energy, and soul into. And so, yeah, I think admissions officers definitely do kind of expect there to be a drop in the number of hours you're spending on your activities as you go down. So I did that. That was a cool experience. I also did a 9 or 10 day camp in Washington, D.C., the National Student Leadership Conference, NSLC, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. I did the political action and public policy. I actually put down at Stanford that one of the majors I'd be interested in is public policy. And so I talked about how I worked with a campaign team to draft policies. I won the primary and general election debates in this mock presidential election because basically I got the chance to run for president, which was super exciting. That was all fun. And then the last activity that I put was a actual job that I had. My only paid job that I did throughout high school was I was a summer lifeguard at Lifetime Fitness. It was a great first job. I was American Red Cross certified. I learned CPR. I learned about child safety. I learned about heat stroke. It was just cool to be a lifeguard. I swam a lot as a child, and so I always told myself when I'm in high school, when I'm old enough, I'm going to become a lifeguard because it's just something that I really wanted to do, something that I thought was cool. And so when I turned 16, I did it, and that was super exciting. So I hope all of you enjoyed this video. These are some of my extracurricular activities that I did in high school. I spent a lot of time on my extracurricular activities. Outside of school, I spent more time on my extracurricular activities than doing things like studying for standardized tests and homework and a lot of that stuff because I spent a significant portion of my time on extracurricular activities. So I'm already going to school for like 7-8 hours a day. So, you know, there's only so much time you can spend on school and studying. And I definitely, of course, I obviously, you know, had good grades too and spent time doing homework and studying and things like that. But my extracurricular activities were things that I really enjoyed, and I'm really happy that I did what I did throughout high school. I really enjoyed every single thing that I did, and every activity that I put on here, I had a blast doing, and it was just a good time, and I really look back and feel like I enjoyed high school a lot because of a lot of the extracurricular activities that I did and what I spent my time doing. So I hope all of you enjoyed this video. I'm doing some college consulting and will help with essay writing, so if you're interested in any of that, I'm going to leave an email down below where you can contact me and I'll tell you about all of that. I am going to make more videos with the college application process, so go ahead and subscribe down below if you are interested, and if you have any video suggestions, you can comment down below on this video, or you can DM me on my Instagram at rad_shaw, and I'll put my Instagram in the description box as well. And I hope all of you found this video informative. I hope you found it helpful. I can make other videos too about like stats, things like that, just whatever you guys want to see. And I know some people are commenting and DMing me on Instagram, so I'm definitely looking at all of that and considering and planning my other videos based off of what all of you want to see. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to all of you soon.